Well guys, with yet another Loud House movie that nobody asked for on the horizon, I figured I'd take a look back at the last time they did this sort of thing, which wasn't really that long ago. Yep, because after 9 seasons, several neglected characters and dynamics, ratings in the toilet, a cancelled spin-off, a spin-off movie that ties 0 loose ends, another cancelled spin-off, 2 more boring spin-off movies, another terrible movie, 1 decent movie, and countless botched storylines, this once mostly beloved franchise is still going at it. But for now, let's talk about the time where, for the most part, some of this crazy nonsense felt surprisingly meaningful.
What?
Yeah, I'm shocked too. I'm talking about No Time to Spy. Initially, you're probably thinking, what business did a slice of life kid show have parodying a James Bond title? A year and a half later, your guess is still as good as mine.
Does not compute!
I will say, this film kinda has the opposite problem the other one did. Amidst all of the Loud House movie's problems, the premise of the first one at least makes sense. It's one thing to be proud of what you do best, it's another to want genuine acknowledgement for it, at least when you're being overshadowed by 10 other people. If only the execution didn't involve mediocre songs and a lot of stupid choices, but we're not here for that today. In contrast, the premise is just outright dumb, but at least it actually works off of the continuity of the series, for whatever that might be worth. And the execution is surprisingly solid. The Loud Kids' grandpa, known as Pop Pop, was established to be getting remarried to a woman named Myrtle, who's voiced by an actress that I have a soft spot for. What do you mean she's not voicing her this time? We do know how annoyingly obsessed Lincoln is with secret agent stuff, for almost 3 whole seasons. And lastly, it was established beforehand that Myrtle is a retired spy, and one can easily guess what her dynamic with Lincoln was like from there on out. He can't stop geeking out at every opportunity, she tells him stories of her escapades, and one of them actually sets the plot in motion. The film starts with Lincoln retelling one of her stories in which she saved the world from a typical madman named Defoe, bent on world domination, like every other Bond villain. In their scuffle, he trips and accidentally gets trapped inside his own rocket and gets launched into outer space, putting an end to his schemes. And you might have been thinking from the promos and the opening sequence, all these years later, he's back for revenge and the Louds get caught up in the old conflict, yada yada yada. But hold on, we'll get to that later. Cut to the present, Pop Pop, Myrtle, and all the Louds head out to some unnamed vacation resort for the couple's wedding. While at the hotel lobby though, for whatever reason, they turned Flip into basically the Anna of the Loud House universe. Because one Flip wasn't already insufferable enough. Thanks, I hate it. But anyways, Lincoln's as eager as ever and hoping for some sort of secret agent adventure with his soon-to-be grandma. And to his glee, he gets exactly what he asked for, causing him and Myrtle to get ambushed. And I will say this, even for a spy, there is no way a 60-something-year-old retiree is still that physically competent. But hey, we're not always in it for the realism. Not that they always give us a choice. Myrtle notices that her soon-to-be family is obviously in danger, calls her former boss to evacuate them, but Lincoln, too caught up in his fantasies as usual, accepts the mission behind Myrtle's back. So while she's off taking care of business, Lincoln is off doing his own thing. And you might be wondering, what are the Loud sisters doing this whole time? Wouldn't they want to be spending time with Myrtle on her wedding eve? And well, as far as they know, that's exactly what they're doing. And honestly, it makes the imposter reveal later all the more heartbreaking, but hold on, we'll get to that. While Lincoln is investigating, he keeps drawing the attention of some random lady his family met on the plane, and she keeps being too friendly at the worst of times. Myrtle catches Lincoln and he tells her that he got word that Defoe is back, right before they get ambushed again. And I will say, this whole gag with the paywall scooter actually got a chuckle out of me. It's one of those jokes that really drags on, but that's kind of the whole point, and I think it's great commentary regardless. During, and for no real reason, Lincoln willingly pricks his finger with what's obviously a tranquilizer dart.
You're a dumbass.
Myrtle gets captured so Lincoln can escape and rendezvous with the family. And for some reason, he's the only one that catches on to the fake Myrtle for reasons completely unrelated to what just happened.
Okay.
Myrtle is captured, the cops can't help for whatever reason, so the Louds take initiative with help from some gadgets made by Lisa. The family makes its way to the hideout, and once again, Fifi is being too friendly for everyone's own good, resulting in an intense car chase where the Louds conveniently find the hideout. It all sounds really dumb or contrived, but please guys, bear with me. The Louds infiltrate the lair, and to the surprise of everybody, a fart joke is actually funny. And it came from the Loud House? There's build-up, there's tension, there's comedic timing. Trust me, I am the last person who would ever laugh at a fart joke, especially in a kid show. But they make it work! Somehow. But anywho, the Louds reach Myrtle's cell, which she already broke out of, and well, it was obviously a trap anyways. And to the surprise of no one, Fifi was in on it. But here's the kicker. Du Fu has been dead this whole time. They never outright say exactly what happened to him, but that rocket flashback from the beginning is the last time we see him in the story. It's safe to assume that he starved or ran out of air all those years ago. I don't know how low the bar is, but props to this movie for implying something so gruesome while also respecting the age rating. And as it turns out, Fifi is his widow and had no intention of finishing his work. She just wants to do to Myrtle's family what she did to hers. And to be honest, the twist of Fifi being a villain was obvious, but as the villain, it's set up pretty damn well. Honestly, when your film makes me look back and pay attention to certain details, that's how you know the narrative is thorough. Now that we know Fifi was behind everything, you look back and realize, that's why the door to the hideout conveniently opened. That's why Fifi was encouraging Lincoln. That's why she gave them the buggy. Never mind the fact that she can't get away with shooting a baby on screen. Were those guards missing their shots at Lily on purpose? For the sake of Fifi's poetic revenge, she did need them all alive. And again, circumventing the G rating very cleverly. Wow, the Loud House doing twist villains better than Disney has in the past 20 years. Bro, this film is full of surprises. Maybe it's because the bar for their movie villains is so low, but I'd say they knocked it out of the park this time. But more importantly, there's our protagonist's character development to take into account. Ever since Myrtle publicly announced her engagement on the paper, Fifi finally had the means to track down the woman that ruined her life. And she took full advantage. She studied the Louds to where she knew exactly who to manipulate. If it weren't for Lincoln's desperate eagerness to be a hero and secret agent obsession, she wouldn't have gotten away with everything she's done so far. The shady deal at the harbor, the buggy, finding his camera, it was all there on purpose. I mean, we all saw the reveal coming, but you completely understand her motivations and her backstory. Throughout the film, Lincoln won't shut up about the thrill of fighting bad guys, using gadgets, his desire to be a hero, blah blah blah. To where Myrtle keeps insisting that there's a lot more to it than the grandeur. If Lincoln had just stayed put, Fifi would have already lost. Or at the very least, things would be a lot more difficult for her. So where are we now? The Louds are trapped in a rocket where they will all be left to die, and Myrtle can't stop it, giving Lincoln a colossal reality check. If he wasn't so obsessed with his comic book fantasies, most of this wouldn't have happened. Heck, for all we know, this film would have ended in like 20 minutes. So it's remarkably compelling when he blames himself and dumps all of his comic books in shame. I haven't said this in like 3 seasons, but damn. The Loud House is actually getting genuine emotion out of me. Especially with what happens next. When Lisa finds a way out of the rocket that requires someone to stay behind, Myrtle volunteers, but then, without any mention of it in the dialogue here, what she told Lincoln earlier kicks in for him. Being a hero calls for a lot more than just the fun of it. He forces Myrtle and Pop-Up out of the rocket with the gadget Lisa gave him. Again, great continuity by the way. And ultimately, makes the sacrifice himself. Even for a 12-year-old boy, it makes sense that he's thinking that he owes this to his family because he had every reason to blame himself for all this happening. It's honestly amazing how the protagonist's growth manages to be unquestionably essential throughout the whole story, even with how ridiculous the premise was. Fortunately, thanks to Lisa's ingenuity and another dose of decent continuity, Lincoln and the rocket make it back. Though I will say, why the hell is Pop Pop the only one trying to break him out? Yeah, Lily probably can't swim, but what about the rest of them? More notably, if Pop Pop can break the glass while underwater, why didn't he try to break it before the rocket launched in the first place? Heck, why didn't any of them even try? I'm glad every character had a moment to shine throughout the film, but sometimes it feels like they're taking too much of a backseat when it matters most. But glaring plot holes aside, everyone is safe, but Myrtle blames herself for all this happening. And yet, Lincoln and his family basically tell her that they're fighting with her, not for her. Okay, you know you're doing something right when you're accurately taking pointers from the Batman Arkham games.
Barbara, Scarecrow manipulated me. I watched you die.
He gassed you, Bruce. You don't need to worry about us or feel responsible. We're fighting with you, not for you, okay?
And also, I can't think of a more perfect time to hear an orchestral version of the show's theme song. They nailed it. She's family now, so if Fifi and her goons are gonna keep at it, since she got away, they'll face them together. I mean, yeah, she gets apprehended 5 minutes later, but still. And in case you think Lincoln getting saved this quickly undermines his development, then well, the plot makes up for it with, well enough again, more decent continuity. From the very beginning of the film, Lincoln is tasked with guarding the wedding rings at all costs, and he mentions that his David Steele watch is a rare collectible. And of course, he loses the former while on his high horse. So when he trades that watch to replace the rings, you realize that he definitively learned his lesson regardless. A lesson that's really great for all the kids watching. Like, yeah, it's one thing when kids let their imaginations run wild, but we can't let that imagination be conflated with reality. Otherwise, the consequences could be really dire. Everyone's safe, huge lesson learned, the wedding is on, and we got a well-deserved happy ending. And that was No Time to Spy. I swear, it's like these writers decided to lock in and say, you know what? This spy shtick has been dragging on long enough. Let's make something good out of it that people will actually remember and wrap it up. All of our boys' hyperfixations, the over-the-top action, all of the uninspired nonsense that's been spanning for 3 seasons. It feels like it's coming to an end in a remarkably cathartic way. Maybe the premise, let alone a whole hour and a half film, wasn't warranted or earned, but the emotions definitely were. The film was using its own excessive grandeur to discourage excessive grandeur in this franchise. A lesson that this slice-of-life kids show definitely needed. All while organically evolving their protagonist just in time for a new season. Unfortunately, we all know they didn't keep up the momentum. So now what? Can I trust that this next movie will actually work off of something pre-established? Something that makes sense for these characters to be dealing with? Or create meaningful emotions? Judging from the trailers alone, not really, but it wouldn't be the first time they surprised me. Though admittedly, it's genuinely disheartening how they managed to exceed so many low expectations, only to drop the ball in record time. And it doesn't seem like that's gonna stop anytime soon. But as I've discussed before, maybe the reason this show feels so botched, passionless, and unprincipled is because there is no passion or principles, just quotas to fulfill. Either in the oversaturating number of episodes, the repetitive themes and plot elements, or every now and again, whatever brownie points these showrunners are craving. But I've said enough about that in the past. It's almost like any semblance of decent storytelling that spawns out of this franchise is just a fluke. It's why Lincoln repeated the exact same mistakes he made in this movie not that much later. It's why Stella was relegated to Token Girl. Hell, not even that anymore. It's why the show pretends Lincoln's feelings for her were as basic as anyone else's and were worth scrapping. It's why we never see Clyde and Chloe again after that Valentine's dance. It's why Liam was so unreasonably indifferent at the sight of Lynn with someone else. Never mind that as far as Lynn is concerned, Henrik did everything he did, but worse. If it's so easy for the showrunners to disregard any semblance of genuine emotion or connection with their characters for the sake of whatever the hell their agenda is, or worse, fake any semblance of it, platonic or not, then should I really be surprised that this series has the most perverted fandom I've ever seen? Okay, second most. If they can't bother respecting the emotions or emotional boundaries of the characters, then why should the audience respect any boundaries with said characters? As far as modern Loud House is concerned, I would say No Time to Spy was lightning caught in a jar. But we all know what they did with said lightning. So I can't say that my hopes are high for this upcoming movie, especially knowing what I do about it. But if not just for the sake of my content, we'll just have to wait and see.